This week on Gotta Go, I did medical tourism.
You won't believe what the number one Aussie car is right now.
Why Aussies are the biggest losers in the world.
Plus, the bird banger my whole house is obsessed with.
All this and so much more on Gotta Go, Gotta Go.
Hi, Mo. Where in the world are you today?
I am in Chiang Mai at the moment.
I don't know if you've seen while you've been traveling, but there's obviously like record-breaking heats and wildfires in Europe right now and droughts.
Yeah.
There's like crazy flooding and landslides throughout Asia, in China, in Bangladesh. Half of Canada's on fire. Even the Scottish Highlands, Mo, not known for being hot and toasty, are on fire. Like, it's crazy. So I really needed to dig for some good news this week because I was just feeling a bit overwhelmed by some of the things that were going on out there. So I'm going to kick off with this thing that I'm obsessed with this week. Have you seen the Eastern Rosellas song?
I can honestly say I have not seen the Eastern Rosellas song.
Okay, good. So this kid called Miles in Australia, very into the Eastern Rosellas, has written a song, and I'm not going to lie, it's a bit of a banger. It's a big hit in our house. Check this out.
So it's like this, the Rosellas on the twist, in the morning mist, and you like it like this, divide over my head now. I'll tell you what this species is, hey, Eastern Rosellas, Eastern Rosellas, beautiful colors, Eastern Rosellas, Eastern Rosellas, colors, and I feel
The dad's caption was like, educational song, low-key banger, but it's just started to go a bit viral. So he's been on all the morning shows now. This week, Ballpark Music did a cover of it, and then Ben Lee's done a riff on that. And then like you're just starting to see these videos pouring in from around the world. There was like this music teacher in Europe and his whole class are doing it. There's choirs doing it. And it was just the good news story and the song I needed this week.
Ladies Finance Club Molly's like, how are they making money from this? But I mean, it's not all about money.
Merch.
That's
Well, it's on Spotify now.
merch.
They've just launched on Spotify this week. So
Good on
if you want to
them.
hear
Okay.
Eastern Rosellas, you can check it out.
That is good news.
You got any good news for me, Mo?
Just life is good at the moment, traveling around Thailand. But last week I went and did one of those full body scans. And I got lots of questions from my audience. So I actually said, listen to this podcast and I'll talk you through really quickly what happened. But it's kind of like, I guess, medical tourism. And so a lot of places around Bangkok, hospitals are doing this. You go in and they give you a full body checkup. We are talking scans, mammograms, blood tests. But the great thing is, right, B, so I rock up at this place and within an hour, I kid you not, I've had my bloods done, my blood pressure, I've had my height, my weight, I've had an eye and ear test, I have had a mammogram, I have had my boobs ultrasound, and I've had this heart thing, which I'm not even sure what it was. It was just epic. And then within the whole 2.5 hours, I'd done a heart stress test. They had me on the treadmill. I was running. We did an ultrasound of like all my organs. And I was like, hey, I had an emergency C-section. I had an infection. Would you mind just going over it? I feel like there's still fluid there. And she's like, you're right. There is, but it's not infected. And she's like, it will go away naturally. And then get this, B. You do urine, stool sample, all this stuff. And get this. By the end of 2.5 hours, you sit down with a doctor and he brings your results up on a screen and you go through everything.
Wow.
And like what I noticed was my cholesterol was a little bit high. He was like, but you're breastfeeding, so don't stress about that. And then I'm in very good shape. I'm very healthy, which was great to know. There was a few little tiny things that I was like, that's good to know. I'll keep an eye on it. But all around, and then they give you like this really healthy soup at the end. But all around, it was a really positive experience. And guess how much it cost, B? All this. Guess how much it cost?
$1,000?
$634.
Wow.
I can like go to Medicare. I'm sure I can get a lot of these tests done for free, but can I get it all done within 2.5 hours? And just from a time perspective, and also I don't want to like fill up the Australian healthcare system with me just being like, I just want a checkup. So I thought this was just brilliant, and it was actually full of, like I would say, Western women over the age of 40. When I started sharing it on my socials, people started replying to me being like, oh, my friends have done this. And one friend reached out and said her friend just did it when she was in Bangkok recently and found out she had stage 3 breast cancer and had to go back to the UK and get treatment straight away. But she's like, she just did it on a whim. Like, oh yeah, that'd be fun. Let's go get a health check.
Wow.
So it's kind of
my goodness.
crazy, the stories I'm hearing now about people who've done this. Another friend of ours as well, she found out she had a medical issues and it needed kind of urgent medical attention. So yeah, it was so interesting.
Wow. It's really interesting because we don't sort of do preventative health like that in Australia, I suppose. Like in the traditional sense, you go see your GP when something's wrong generally, you know, even though you should definitely go and have a checkup once a year, which most of us don't do.
And I was trying to think about like, well, with our cars, we put our car in for a yearly checkup, right? To make sure things don't go askew. And I was like, well, this kind of feels the same. So instead of waiting for my car to have an issue, and this is speaking from someone whose car randomly caught on fire, like we do the checkups. And I thought, well, it's kind of similar with our health. Like I'm just doing a checkup to make sure that I'm not going to have that big car blow up. If that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense.
It definitely does. I mean, the counter argument to this is obviously that there's a risk that you go looking for stuff that then you find that then you have to investigate, which is actually fine. Like there is this principle, you know, that most doctors and GPs and specialists run by, which is like do no harm. And sometimes going and looking for stuff that then you have to investigate because you've seen it can do more damage than just leaving it. But, you know, it's that balance, isn't it? Because like obviously I had stage 4 cancer and I was being told I was fine, and something like this may have picked it up sooner or may not have. But yeah, it's an interesting one. But I think it sounds like overall it's been a really great experience for you, but there just are, I think, yeah, there are risks, I suppose, as well.
Well, I think because of your history, that's probably why I was a little bit more, I want to check it out, just to make sure there's nothing that has been brewing. But my partner, he was booked in, and he actually was like, after our initial chat of talking about Scanxiety, he was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to know.
Oh,
and I was
wow.
like, which is so different to me, because I'm like, I want to know, and I'd want to like action it straight away. But he's like, no, because if it is something small, then it's just going to give me anxiety, and then it might be nothing.
I reckon me having been through what I've been is a huge part of you wanting to do it as well, which totally makes sense, right? You're like, my sister was told she was fine and had stage 4 cancer.
And almost died. So yeah, that definitely, I'd say, influenced my thoughts. But actually, since I've shared it on my socials, so many people have been like, oh, I'm really interested in doing that. And since I've become a mother, I have to say, and I don't know if this is normal, Bri, I have weirdly not stopped thinking about death, because now I've got this beautiful little human who is so dependent on me. I am just constantly kind of like, I need to make sure I'm okay. Well, even like in a car last night coming home, and I just had like, I need to protect this child because they don't have proper car seating in Thailand, which is totally fine. So I'm just holding her, but I'm like, how do I hold her to protect her if something was to happen in this car? And I don't want this to like spiral out.
Yeah, I would say I think it's pretty normal. Like I definitely, when I first had a baby, I remember walking around the streets of Melbourne and I was suddenly like, well, that thing could fall down there and then that truck could run over here and run him down and kill him. But like they were getting quite dark sometimes, and I did have to just put some parameters in around it. I think you're traveling with a baby. It's extremely normal that your anxiety around her safety would be a bit heightened, and you're like worrying and forward thinking because you're trying to keep a little human alive. I think it's just always making sure it doesn't run away from you, right? And doesn't tip into like dangerous off the scales anxiety. Like I know I've had girlfriends that have then had to, you know, genuinely be medicated because they already had pre-existing anxiety, and childbirth is like, and having a baby has pushed them into like a new sphere. But I do think it is a pretty normal response to like, I saw this comedian recently, this Scottish comedian, and he was like, you know, before, like if I died, like whatever, like didn't really matter. He's like, now it would be like a devastating story of two, children that wouldn't have a father and they'd have daddy issues forever because of me. I actually feel really important. And I was like, yeah, there's something in that.
Well, that's good to know because I thought I was just kind of sparring a little bit in my own head, like walking down the street being like, someone could knock over this pram or someone could steal my child. But no, that's good to know that actually an element of this is quite normal.
I think it's really interesting that Vinny decided not to go ahead and do it. The Scanxiety is real. I mean, I've obviously had cancer, and so for cancer survivors, Scanxiety is a real thing. It's literally most people experience it because you're going back in to test your bloods to get checked, and it's like, is the cancer back, And I know for me, something that really helped during that time, which is just broadly applicable to anyone if you're going in for a test or a blood test or whatever and you're feeling anxious, is I reframed it to be what a good opportunity to appreciate my health, to have this time to check in and, connect with my body. And so I reframed it like that for me because, otherwise it was just getting a bit stressful every time. So anyway, I found that really helpful.
Yeah, I can imagine if you've had something in the past, this would be like your kind of worst nightmare, like going in and getting checks of everything. So yeah, not for everyone, but I was definitely, having had no history of anything, for me it was more just preventative and a check-in. And also a little reminder that I probably need to get a bit fitter because I did the fitness test on the the treadmill, and they were like, do you want to keep going? And I was like, no, thank you. And I was like only up to like level 3, and I was like, this is probably a good check-in that I need to get back into walking and my fitness. So
yeah, sure.
I haven't really done anything since I had a baby.
That's fine, Mol. You had a baby 6 months ago. I think let yourself off the hook. Like, that's fine. But, you can start to ease back into some stuff. I'd hate to think what I would be on that test right now. It would not be good.
Every place I go, there's like buffet breakfasts or like unlimited a la carte breakfasts, which is the new buffet breakfast. I have to have self-control. Like, do you understand how hard it is at a buffet where there's chocolate fountains to have self-control? Some sympathy, please.
You do love a buffet breakfast. One of my funniest buffet memories from my life is doing a buffet with you when we were little children, and we'd never really done one before, so you got extremely excited. But do you remember how you one memory, you put a plate,
I know where this is going,
you filled the plate with Cocoa Pops and milk and then proceeded to leak it across the entire restaurant back to our table. When you got back to the table, I'm like, why a plate? Why a plate?
Can I just say there were no bowls. I'm not allowed Cocoa Pops, and I got extremely excited. I was like, a plate
Filled
will do.
it to the brim.
A plate will do.
And then the other thing, it became a bit of a thing. You do entree, main, dessert, and then you would always go back for a bowl of soup.
Which I think now we learn is probably good for digestion. So do you know what? Maybe I was just
You're ahead of your time.
I was ahead of my time.
It was a very niche choice for an 11-year-old. We were like, okay, bowl of soup to wind up this buffet. Why not?
I remember when we would go to buffets, we'd go with our Scottish grandfather, and he'd be like, eat the cheap stuff last. Eat the expensive stuff first.
Yes,
like,
that became
like
our family motto.
Away.
and like when we say went to buffets with our granddad, like we're talking Sizzler. It was nothing fancy, but he was like, no pasta, no bread. You eat that last. He's like, fill up on the expensive stuff. Such a Scotsman. Did you know that electric vehicle sales have smashed all records in the month of June in Australia? So
surprisingly, I did not know that, Bryony.
This time last year, 7% of all car sales were fully electric. It's now hitting 25%, which is 1 in 4.
Great.
This is obviously like, the Iran war and the fuel crisis is like people are freaking out about the cost of fuel and realizing, just being reliant on foreign oil, not the greatest idea in the world. So the Tesla Y is now the number 1 sold car in Australia for the 2nd month running, which is crazy. It's like knocked Utes off its perch.
Well, number 1, I thought BYD would be the number 1 selling car, but I'm also not surprised because it just makes economic sense.
Especially now when you can buy, the Tesla Y I think is a, between $60,000 and $70,000 car, but there are a lot of cheap EVs coming on the market that are like in the 35 to 40K range. So, that's pretty cool. But yeah, so the Tesla Y, the BYD Sea Lion and the BYD Shark and the hybrid RAV4, they're like all in the top 10 now. And the other crazy thing is if you account for plug-ins and hybrids, it's 1 in 2. So 1 in 2 cars sold in June were like some kind of electric car, which is pretty cool.
To be honest, if you're out buying a car these days, it doesn't really make sense to buy something which is petrol, fully petrol. Like, you would definitely go hybrid or electric, because if you're thinking of a resale, like, it's just, you know, in 10 years' time, is anyone going to be driving a petrol car? I said it, so sue me, you know, like, really.
I mean, this is what China, like literally back in 2001, they're like, electric vehicles are the future, let's go all in. And that's why they're dominating it. And 75% of all electric vehicles sold now are from China. So, Mel, you were back out at the mines this week. Tell us about that.
So, yeah, that's right. I was out giving a talk on a mine site, and it's definitely a different world out there. But one thing that really stood out to me is a lot of people assume because you're earning a great income, it automatically means that you become wealthy. And now the lowest paid worker is still earning double what the average Aussie earns. And so you go, oh my gosh, they're earning so much money. They must be, you know, accumulating a lot of wealth. Absolutely not. It's not how it works. It's actually about what you do with your money, not how much you earn. And it's something I saw time and time again out there. People are literally, they've got nothing to their name. They're spending all their money. So it doesn't matter if they're earning $250K. At the end of the year, they've still got $0 and zero assets.
It's what you and our mother always say. It's not what you earn, it's what you save.
And that's one of the biggest learnings with money. It's actually about discipline. It's about systems, which sounds super boring, but there is absolute freedom in that. And it reminds me of a story when I was in London. I spoke to 2 women. One was this air hostess. She was this gorgeous young thing. She was working for Virgin over in the UK. And I was like, how are you with money? And she said something which I never hear be. She was like, I'm really good with money. And I was like, oh, great. Love that. Never get to hear that. So she was like, I save half of everything I earn and I'm going to buy my first property. And I was like, that's amazing. And the next day I was speaking to a business executive who worked in the travel industry, which was funny. And she was earning 3 times the amount the air hostess was earning. And so I asked her the same question. I was like, how are you with money? How's it all going? And she was like, not good. I was like, okay, tell me more. And she was suffering from what I call lifestyle inflation. So the more you earn, the more you spend. So she had just upgraded the car, higher car repayments. They had just started renting a nicer place. Again, higher repayments. She had even some buy now, pay laters. And I'm always like, well, why did you have buy now, pay laters? I'm curious as to why you'd go down that route, and she just wanted to try them out. But now she had this buy now, pay later debt. So although she was earning 3 times the amount, the air hostess was doing so much better. But like looking at them, you'd be like, oh, obviously she's doing much better because she's the business exec earning 3 times the amount. And that's really where it should be, I think, inspiring, if anything, because it goes to show how far you can get just by your behaviors and, you know, having the right systems in place for your money.
That's why I love what you do so much, you know, because it is just like helping, like you can change the trajectory of your life by, you know, having some systems, like you said, and putting some things in place. You know, it's life-changing stuff.
It really is life-changing because just like women make really good savers and that's fantastic. But investing is where you actually grow your money. If someone's listening and they've been thinking about investing but they haven't actually started, like if you had $100 and you save that $100 every month for 30 years, you'd have $36,000. But if you were to invest it, you would have just under $150,000. And
Wow.
like, let's say you could like squirrel away $500 every month. You may be in that position where you've got a great paycheck coming in. $500 every month for 30 years, you've got $180,000. But if you were to invest that money, and we're talking into maybe like a high growth ETF, exchange traded fund, how much do you think you would have? So instead of 180,000, if you invested that, how much do you think you would have 30 years later?
Like 250,000?
More.
300,000?
Way more.
400,000.
745,000. And that's looking at an average, very average return for what we've
Wow.
seen over the share market. Like 180 versus 745, that's a life-changing amount.
Life-changing.
That is a
Life-changing.
very different lifestyle you're going to be having with that money. And this is why I encourage all women to come along to our masterclass or just start learning and educating yourself on investing, because it is so powerful and it's actually what builds real wealth. It's never been easier to spend. Like, we're just being advertised to all the time. And something which
Yeah.
I'm seeing more and more, and the stats back this up, is gambling ads. And I saw this crazy stat the other day. It's going to blow your mind. It was, in the last 3 years, how much do you think Aussies have lost due to gambling?
Like a couple of $100 million?
It's $104 billion. So that works out to around 666 million a week we are losing through gambling. Isn't that mind-blowing?
It's absolutely mind-blowing. And the thing that's so heartbreaking about this is 3 years ago, that's when the Murphy review was submitted to the government. So Peter Murphy, and I feel particularly incensed by this because Peter Murphy, she was a Labor minister. She was dying of cancer. And her, like, literally to her dying day, she worked on putting this review into the gambling industry together. And she got people from all sides of parliament. I mean, the other crazy thing about this is this has insane widespread support amongst the Australian public. The vast majority of Australians want to see us clamp down on gambling advertising. And so they put all these recommendations forward, and the government sat on this report for 2 years. They've agreed, I think, to bring in 3 of the recommendations of like the 30-odd recommendations, and then they just released their response to it on the day of the budget lockup when every journalist in the country was basically locked up. It's just appalling. Like, this is such an easy win for our government. People support it. It does so much harm. It's taking so much money out of our communities and the most vulnerable communities and people and families. And it's just absolutely shocking.
I just don't know how they're getting away with it. But what I want to know is why are politics, I know the independents are pushing back on it, so is David Pocock, but why is Labor and Liberals so pro, like, not getting rid of these gambling ads?
It's got to just be the power of the lobbying that's going on, right? I mean, it's an interesting one with gambling because I didn't realize, but the NRL and the AFL, like the various sporting codes, actually now get a percentage of those of the gambling revenue. So they don't want it taken out. The commercial TV networks don't want it taken away because they make a ton on advertising revenue. And then, there's of course the companies themselves. So it's one where the lobbying that's going on and the interests of big corporations are being put over people's lives and families' lives, and this destroys families and it destroys people, and it's an indictment on our government. They need to do better. The other thing, Mol, when it comes to sport that's really getting me is because my husband is ball obsessed. He's sports obsessed. If it's anything with a ball, he will watch it. I didn't realize this till we were engaged. Actually, he hid it from me and trapped me. now I live with a sports fanatic. But our boys, as a result, are starting to watch. When the Titans are on, the Gold Coast Titans, or the odd match, and they're being bombarded from the age of 2 with these gambling ads, but also with coal, gas and oil companies that sponsor some of our biggest teams in Australia. So there's actually a campaign happening at the moment called Get It Off My Chest. The fans of the Fremantle Dockers are trying to get the Dockers to not be sponsored by Santos anymore. Oh, sorry, not Santos, Woodside. But then the other crazy thing I learnt this week is coal and gas companies are sponsoring 260 different programs, be they sporting programs, school programs, to basically try and indoctrinate kids from a really young age about how good coal and gas is and oil. Literally giving teachers teaching resources that talk about, how great drilling is and how to drill for oil. Literally even things like, well, meanwhile, they're there out pumping out more pollution than anyone in the world. And they're saying, think about the pollution emitted on your bus trip to school and how much pollution you make. Like it's insane when you look into it. I'm like, this is for cooked.
Yeah, because I always feel like when I watch sport, which, well, to be fair, the rugby, it's not that often, but there's always like sports bet and betting companies. And I'm like, this feels a bit icky that it's so apparent on their chest. I had to look up the stats to back this up because I was like, it seems like pokies are having a bit of a resurge as well. But the stats actually show that they are. Not by a huge amount, but by I think it was around 7%, which is just like terrifying because you can't win with pokies.
So yeah, I saw a documentary a few years ago. It was called Chiang, and it was about like literally the people that designed the pokey machines. And because Australia, we have the worst pokey machines in the world, and we actually have the most per capita as well, which is wild, even more than the US. Like there are not that many pokies in the US per capita. But the designers of these games were saying, yeah, we say in the industry, we either set the machine to shear the lamb or to slaughter the lamb, which is just so gross. But they said all of the machines in Australia are set to slaughter the lamb because you can lose so much and you can lose so much in one session, whereas, you know, other jurisdictions, they have caps, so that can't happen.
And well, what I've just showed you before, like if you're putting $100 every month into an investment, you know, you're going to be guaranteed a win in 30 years' time. So I mean, at least you'll hit the jackpot eventually.
One last thing, Molly, that I just have to have a rant about because you know me and the gas industry, not my best friend. Information came out this week that the gas industry in Australia, you know, the poor little gas industry that couldn't possibly pay more tax, they are set to make up to $18 billion in additional profits because of the war in Iran. So like $18 billion in windfall profits. Insane. I think Australians should get a fair share in that personally. So yeah. All right, Mole. Well, that's about all we have time for today. What's got to go from your end?
I am traveling around Asia at the moment. I know, poor me. But what I am noticing, it's a little bug I want a bear. Or is that the saying, Bri? Bug I want a bear?
I don't think that's the saying, but it sounds cute. Let's just make that a new Mollyism. A bit of a bugbear, I think, is the term.
My bugbear is, I swear, budget airplane seats are getting smaller. Like I flew this one from Perth to Bali and I literally could not move. Plus I had a baby, plus the guy put his seat down in front of me. I get this is all very first world problems, but it was tiny and I'm like, they're really jamming us in. So my gotta go is just like tiny seats on tiny planes. In saying that, I got to fly Qantas over and it felt like such luxury. I was like, oh my God. Like national carriers are so luxe these days. I loved it.
I am struggling to find the empathy for your predicament. I'm sorry. But I'd also say just like book a more expensive airline maybe. You get what you pay for.
Honestly, booked Thai Airways and I was like, I'm so fancy. It was beautiful. Oh my God. And one last thing, right? Singapore Airlines, oh my God. They were like, would you like a bassinet? I was like, yes, please. Put baby in the bassinet. She fell asleep. It was a dream. Fancy carriers, they've got to stay. B, what's got to go for you this week?
Just socks in general. So I heard this from your podcast one day, someone you interviewed, and he said, best life hack, get rid of every sock you own and then just buy one type of sock because, you know, it's bad enough doing it for yourself, but the amount of time I'm spending trying to find all these little boys matching socks and put them together right now, I'm like, I don't have time for this. Just going to get one pair of socks.
I know, and when people say just wash them together, like, who are you? Where did you come from? Yeah. Are you even real? That doesn't work.
Well, Mol, it sounds like you've been needing to go for like the last hour, so we'll let you go.
Thank you, sorry, my child needs me. What can I say? She's obsessed.